And welcome back to Everyday Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sorelli. I've been looking forward to this podcast for a few weeks now. I've got the blonde bomber, Terry Bradshaw, who is a NFL legend, and not only hits the icing on the cake. He has done so much more in his life beyond just the NFL. And we've got Terry today. We're going to talk about life. We're going to get some advice from a man who's done so much. Terry, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, Mike, thanks for having me on, man. This is going to be a good time. I know for me, hopefully for you.
Well, hopefully it's mutually beneficial. So Terry, I watched Going Deep with my wife 2 nights ago. One, she's a fan of Terry Bradshaw and the bunch, which she said you guys are absolutely hilarious on your reality TV show. We'll get to that, but first off, I want to say congrats to you for having the moral courage and strength to show such vulnerability, which in my opinion, having served with some of the most lethal warriors in the world, is probably one of the strongest character attributes that there is. It takes a true man to show vulnerability and open yourself up, despite keyboard warriors in this day and age will throw insults at you once you do that.
Well, Mike, your life, while you live it, and if you have any type of success at your pursuits, there does come a responsibility, I think, if there's life's learning lessons in that, whether it be football, television, whatever. I've always felt as though the best thing I can do is be honest. So many people don't want you to see what's inside. For what, I don't know what the reasons could be, other than they don't want you to see their hurt or their pain. But what we need to realize is so many people do have pain, and so many people are hurting, and so many people, say in my case, are curious. I don't mind them seeing me being goofy and nutty, and I don't mind them seeing me break down emotionally. I don't mind them seeing me talk about depression, because with all of the wonderful things that life has, we all experience the downs too. So life is up and down and up and down, and the balance is not to go too high, not to go too low, and try to structure a life so that it's somewhat controlled chaos. And so I've always enjoyed being honest. I find it is good for me, Mike, as possibly it is for you.
Terry, I want to hone in on that for a second, but actually come back first before we do. So you said something in the documentary Going Deep that you wish you had been a little more authentic very early on within your NFL career. And you talked about Joe Namath and how you loved just how dynamic he was and how he just basically said what he felt. Now, do you think that was a little bit of a result of your upbringing? Because if my research is correct, your father was former Navy, so ex-military, and he also was a strong, your family had a strong Baptist faith. Was that a disciplined and strict upbringing?
Yeah, I would say so. I would answer that by saying, absolutely. The way I was raised was respect for your parents, authority. You're punished for not being obedient, for lying, for breaking rules, so on and so forth. So I got the punishment phase too. A lot of it also was from we grew up, Mike. I grew up in a non-celebrity world. I grew up in a very middle-class family. No one was a celebrity. No one was glamorous. I was the first and only one, and I had to experience it, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what you were supposed to do. I didn't know how to be a celebrity. I didn't know how to be or act successful. And as I marched through my early years in life in Pittsburgh and so on, deep down inside was always this part of me that wanted to be brutally honest. I don't know why, Mike. I wanted to be brutally honest. And I found out, I think early in life, if you're brutally honest, that only serves you well, because you're going to make a lot of people really upset. And that happened. And so when I realized that this is not something I could handle. In other words, I could say it, I could be honest, but the repercussions were too much for me, and I wasn't mature enough to handle it. That's why the reference to Joe Namath and the white shoes and the fur coat and the being outrageous and the being this. There was a part of me, Mike, that's like that. I wanted to be like that. Instead, I was reserved and held back, based primarily on the way I was raised. And then the couple of times I did kind of step out of the control box, I got hammered pretty good, and I didn't know how to handle it. And so I went back into, safety mode.
So what was the moment, the changing moment in your life where you said, screw it, I'm going to be Terry Bradshaw. I'm going to be the authentic Terry Bradshaw. Screw whoever doesn't like it. This is who I am.
When I retired from football, I told my father, I said, golly, this is a great day. He says, are you going to miss it? And I said, no, not at all. But I said, Dad, it's going to be a great day, because now I don't have to pretend. I don't have to be politically correct and so on and so forth. Now you do have to on certain things. But I knew I could now be honest. And that's why when I got into television and started saying things, then people started getting upset, because I was saying things they didn't appreciate about a certain player or a team. And that's where it didn't really necessarily bother me, because listen, Mike, people know and respect you and appreciate you when you're honest with them for an opinion. And if you have an opinion, you can't hide it. You give it. It's a reflection of who you are and how you think and how you feel. And you can get in, basically you can get into a lot of trouble, if you want to use that word, trouble. But I just felt like when I got out of football, I could start being more honest, and I had matured a great deal. So I could handle the heat, and I didn't mind it. Even today at 73, doing television or whatever, when I say something that is out of line, I'm quoted all over the country. And that's because it's not something I do often, but when I do, people know that it's exactly the way I feel.
That is awesome. You notice in conversations, somebody will say something like, hey, can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
And my response is, no, lie to my face. Or is everything you said prior to this been a complete lie?
Exactly.
I
don't
always
don't you hate that, Mike? When he was like, hey, look, let me be perfectly honest. Well, wait a minute. Have you been lying? Why do people say that? I really, why do they say, hey, can I be perfectly honest? Well, yeah.
It's almost like the scene in Ricky Bobby where he's talking to the owner of the car. He says, hey, with all due respect, and he criticizes him. He's like, you can't say that to me. He's like, I said with all due respect.
No, that's a funny line in one of my favorite movies, by the way. But yeah, I never quite understood that. One of the things that happens to people is that they will misrepresent themselves so that they look good. And once they do that, if they misrepresent themselves to protect themselves, then they got to tell a lie on the misrepresentation, and then another lie. Instead of just being, perfectly honest with you, Mike, let me be honest. Instead of just being who they are, they try to be something they're not, and they get caught in a trap. If you'll let people know right up front who you are, what you're all about, You may separate 50% of the people from your life, but that's okay.
I always appreciated the guys I served with in the SEAL teams that were, and they would often get the label of socially awkward
Yeah,
or just being an asshole. Let's be honest,
right,
but it was the
right.
dudes that always just gave you the 100% candid, unadulterated truth. And
Yes.
sometimes their delivery was just very direct and not tactful, but you come to appreciate it. And you almost go to them like, hey, Mike, what's your thoughts? And he would just let you have it.
Right. Well, Mike, it's hard to look at someone when they ask you for an opinion about something or perhaps about them, and you say, look, man, I think you're a jerk. I never have liked you. You were a horrible player. You're not nice to your wife or your kids. You drink too much. You've been drunk. You've gotten away with, with all these issues in society because you're famous. I don't have a whole lot to do with you. There are times, I'm sure, where we've all just wanted to say, what a jerk. But we don't. So I do appreciate the SEAL members, the great warriors of our day, being able to just say, hey, man, I don't dig you. And you know what? I'm fine with it. You deal with it.
I'm going to get into one other subject that I want to ask you about. But so your wife, Tammy,
Right.
does when you ask her for opinions, does she give you the truth, even the stuff you don't want to hear?
Let me just say, I married the greatest woman in the world, and she would never hurt my feelings. She would never say, like, look, I use this, and when I give speeches, I'm retaining a little fluid. In other words, I am not in SEAL shape. And she's always there to say, babe, look, you look great. You look great. Look, that's who she is. She would never and never has said an unkind word to me ever. 22 years together, not one time. I don't. I honestly think she looks at me as if I've never done any wrong and I've never looked bad. I don't ever think she's ever misled me.
Well, Terry, you deserve that. I'm glad you found your soulmate.
So
I
am
know
I.
in the documentary you said by far your best friend, and even your daughters just praised Tammy for. Well, actually, I think the quote was, "If Tammy wasn't around, Terry's life would fall apart."
Yeah, well, it. I believe every man is grounded by. This is just me. We're not meant to go through this life alone. God wants us to have a partner. In my case, a female partner, and I needed someone that I could love and who I could trust to love me back, and I could depend on. And I don't have to worry about her leaving me. If I don't have any money, she'll love me just as much. So, from that standpoint, yeah, I hit the jackpot at the end of the rainbow.
Hey, my wife is my foundation. Funny enough, right before we got married, she's a little bit younger than I am. My mother kept asking, "Are you sure you want to do this to her?" And she didn't tell me until after we got married. And I'm like, "Ma, why would you say that?" She knew what she was about to get into, and maybe my wife didn't, but she recognizes it now. No, a good woman is everything in the world.
Yeah, you know what's so great about it, and I've told my girls this. Look, because I've been divorced 3 times, and if you would ask me my greatest regrets, there it is. I had beautiful daughters that I love dearly. I don't regret that. I wish I'd have got my personal life together. I wish Tammy and I would have hooked up, 50 years ago. God had different plans. I can accept it now. And I'm thankful that I finally found it. I honestly never thought I would ever find it. But I did tell my girls this when they would ask me about their mates or their guys they're dating. I said, I'm going to tell you, girls, check the boxes. And you got to have you got to be sharing so much together. I mean, you can't. The yeses have to outweigh the nos.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, pretty much 95%. You're just going to throw 5% out there that I'm not going to be good at. But she's we're the horse business together, burger business together, bourbon business together. She travels with my speeches. She critiques my speeches. I bounce things off of her. We fish together. We compete together. We throw horseshoes. We travel together. We play golf together, and there's no one I'd rather play golf with than my wife. Now that's just amazing. So, I hit the mother lode. So as much as you can, your likenesses have to be there, and your foundation, the foundation of who you are, you cannot jeopardize that. You cannot jeopardize that. And I feel like that there's some of the things that I did, and they were wrong. So I shared that with the girls, and 2 of my 3 are married, great guys. Hey, Mike, I got the greatest son-in-laws. Rachel's dating a really nice guy, my oldest. So we'll see how that goes, but I like him. And so far, 2 out of 3, not bad.
So Terry, on the show, from what I watched, you're a little hard on them. Not your daughters, but their significant others.
You're talking about the guys? Oh, absolutely. Yes. I try to run them off, Mike. Absolutely. If they can handle my heat, they can handle anything. That's why I always tell them, you don't have a foot in the circle yet, boy. But if you have children, and mine are in their 30s, you have they think you don't know them, but you do, and you know their tendencies. And I can look at these guys and I can tell who's going to last a while. I don't know about last for the long haul yet, but I can tell if these guys are good or if I'm not going to like these guys. I don't share that with them. I keep it to myself. But when they do ask me, I am brutally honest. I do tell them, exactly how I feel about them. Only after they break up with them. Now that they're married, I love both of my son-in-laws, but Rachel's always saying, Dad, well, what'd you think about Billy Ray? And I said, well, I don't like him at all. He drank too much. He was disrespectful. He was sloppy, so on and so forth. I can't believe he even dated the guy. Well, why didn't you tell me? Well, when it comes to matters of the heart, that's not my business. Only when it's over.
Ain't that the truth? When it comes to matters of the heart, I'm not one to give any advice whatsoever. And so, you 14-year career in the NFL, 4 Super Bowl titles, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. What of all those achievements in the NFL, that portion of your life,
right?
What meant the most to you? Was it the championships? Was it the team environment?
Well, everything that I have today is because of championships. Now, the players coming out today might not have championships, but they got 60, 70,000 yards and, Mike, 600 touchdown passes. So it's a little different. But I'm most proud of the championships. Those are as we were talking, what is the movie where he says, this is my defining moment? That was Tin Cup, wasn't it? This is my defining moment to go for it. Yeah, well, that's my defining moment in life is winning the championships. Now, how did I get there? Then goes back to the other part of your question. Now we're talking about the players and the character of the players, and the team concept. And nobody knows that more than you do, being a SEAL team. We get, everything is built on team first, team. Everybody pitching in together. Everybody has everybody's back. Everybody's in for the same cause. Everybody takes care of everybody. Then you bring in living life's experiences with human beings. And then that is, to this day, I have several players on the Steelers that I'm still in touch with, and I still love talking to them. Some are not doing well physically.
Yeah.
So I stay in touch even more so. But yeah, I would say the defining moment was the Super Bowls. And then all the character building, teamwork, and everything came from the players easily.
So, one of the common things people always ask, and so I speak for a living on leadership,
Right.
In my observations in the SEAL teams, even though at the end of the day, I was a mid-level manager, yes, at the highest tactical level in the world. But, a lot of people are like, wow, well, you must have loved all your teammates. I'm like, oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well, I love them all. Did I
Right.
like them all? No.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, did you like everyone on the Pittsburgh Steelers, or did you just have a way that, you knew the mission in front of you, whether you liked the person or not, you found a way to work with them to win?
Well, first of all, I realized that for us to be successful, on offense, I got to have 10 other people, right? 10 other people that are dedicated to being as good as they can possibly be. There's not a player on our offense that I didn't like. Not a one. There's not one person that I disagreed with. So I can honestly answer that by saying from Stallworth, Swan, Blair, Franco, Webster, Moon, I like them all. I enjoyed every one of my teammates. I'm one of those guys that you might see me and think, well, he's got a big personality, but I enjoy sitting back and watching them. And my job, and this, my job is to put them in a position where they can utilize their talents, where they can be successful. And if they are, we are. But I did not dislike one player. The only player on our football team that I'm not going to say disliked, but I was scared of was Jack Lambert. And he would appear to be a great SEAL guy, right? Tough, teeth out. I did not know how to take him. So I stayed away from him. He scared me. And Joe Green used to laugh at me all the time and just say, well, just slap him. I'm not going to slap that guy. but dislike, honestly, golly, Mike, maybe I'm too easy, but I enjoyed every one of them. I enjoyed the personalities. I enjoyed the huddle with them. I enjoyed the moments of great joy and even the sadness. It was just a real blessing to be with that bunch. And and I'm being honest with you, I'm not hiding it. I mean,
no, what, Terry, we know you're being honest, always, and that warms my heart to hear it. And maybe that's why you guys were so, one of the best teams in the history of the NFL. You said something which to me is the very definition of leadership that honestly more of our government and business leaders need to understand, that the job of a leader is to provide resources and put their people in the best position for them what to do. I was a ground force commander in the SEAL teams. I was at the very back of the patrol, and my only job was to make sure that my guys had what they needed to do what they needed to do. And they did it well. And watching from afar was one of the biggest honors of my life, because it was like watching selfless valor on a nightly basis.
You know what I had, my approach to it was always this, Mike, as a leader. There are various forms of leader. I never particularly thought of myself as a leader. And I don't even know what the truest definition of that is. I just know this. I'm a people person. I'm an observer. I know who can handle the heat, and I know who can't. And those that can't, I stepped in and took it for them. That was my role. And I never was one. I don't know about you, but I know in SEAL training, that's the most brutal, self-humiliating exercises, training that you can possibly go through. I've seen it on television. I don't know how you do that, but I think in my sport, I hate to be insulted. I hate to be talked down to. I hate to be yelled at. I don't like to yell at people because, number one, I'm going to make a mistake. So does that give you the right to yell at me and I'm the quarterback? Well, I don't see why not. So I was always about pats on the back, building people up, Because listen, when people are free of all that pressure, and when they know you care about them, man, they go to the limits and they perform at 100%. There's no leaving it out on the field simply because they're happy. Nothing greater than a happy warrior. I can't imagine someone that goes into battle and he's not happy with his commander. He doesn't like what they're doing. A happy warrior, man, someone that he's already been instilled in him. You're the best. You can do this job. You're qualified. You just get the most out of them. And that was just my approach.
Terry, let me share my observations, because that's very interesting you say that. One, I went back and I was a BUDS instructor, a SEAL instructor, for a very short period of time.
Right.
But what I did notice were the instructors that found joy in yelling at the students, at punishing the students, usually weren't considered the warriors within our community, and they had some substantial character flaws. We all have character flaws, but the most lethal warriors I ever served with understood that the easiest thing to do is to break somebody down. Yeah. The hardest thing, because it requires effort, is to build somebody up, and you don't do that through yelling or attacking their character. Right. It's the big brother approach of building them up. And those lethal warriors were often the kindest, most respectful, empathetic people I've ever met, and they never yelled, man. It's interesting that you say that. I do know, and I know we're coming up on time here. Let's talk about when I watch your era of football. It was brutal. I mean, you had some dirty players, and that was just accepted during your time. And I know we've protected the players a lot more this day and age. Do you think that has changed the game of football? And then, sort of add on to that is what's your opinion of all the CTE related brain trauma going on? I know that had to affect you as well. I saw some hits you took. Good Lord.
Well, the CTE was a byproduct of players like Mike Webster, who lost their way sleeping under bridges in a car, but strange behavior more and more that a lot of the CTE people committed suicide. Junior Seau, for example. The thing that changed the game, Mike, number one was television money, mm-hmm. and then in research finding that the viewer wanted scoring, the viewer loved passing, which means we got to protect our quarterbacks, and so the rules were changed primarily to go back like the old AFL, where you throw the ball 40 times, 50 times a game. People love it. To do that, we got to protect it. We got to protect the quarterback. So rules were put into place to protect the quarterback, protect the receiver. In 1979, they changed the bump rule from after 5 yards. You couldn't manhandle a wide receiver so they could run all over the field. So all of it was done. Some of it was done primarily because of money. Research saying that they wanted more scoring. Then as time moved on, Mike, then we started having with the CTE. You notice we started getting lawsuits against the NFL, and the lawsuits brought about protective gear changes, and tactics, and how to tackle. Can't use the crown of the helmet now. So all of that was done to protect not only the player. You do more harm with the shoulder than you do with your head, and that's just a proven fact. So all of that. A lot of it will go from television money to passing the football and to lawsuits to protect the players. As a matter of fact, you can look at the lawsuits or you can look at the league's change. Mike, when you watch football this year, look at the shoulder pads that they wear. It's nothing. It's almost like a piece of cotton up there. It's just because they don't have the big pads anymore. It's little bitty small things, so people are light and they're quick. But you can do so much more damage with a shoulder than you can with your helmet, with your head. So I think those three things, and probably more, could be added to that. But that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So Terry, I want to sort of transition to, you know, all the other facets of Terry Bradshaw that
All
we're
right.
so excited to see. I mean, you're a let's say multi-talented performer. One, I'm so lonesome I could cry when I watch you sing that. I'm like, good Lord. I thought it was somebody else was singing. You've got a voice, but that goes back to your upbringing. You said your family they were always singing.
Yeah, I have two uncles that were great singers and guitar players. Um, I always wanted to sing, always wanted to entertain. I would have preferred to have been a singer than a football player, I think, early in my life because I loved singing so much. And as I pursued football and had success at it, you know what that does? That brings opportunities to do things
Yeah.
you're really not qualified to do. And that's how I got into the Branson show that I do and the show I did in Vegas and things of that nature. The singing, I love to, I love the entertain, I love to sing, and I get a bigger kick out of singing and knowing that people are like shocked that I can sing. Maybe it strokes my ego, I don't know, but it's like, I'm always asking Tammy. She says, "Oh, look at all these! Look at these texts. Oh, love the show, love the show." And she'll read it off all these. I'll say, "Well, did anybody say anything about my singing?" and, and every now and then someone will say, "I didn't know he could sing." And I go, "Yes, that's it. That's the one I want."
So I've got to ask this: if one, no one's ever going to be asking me to be in a movie, and
Yeah,
I've come to grips with that in my life.
that's okay.
I'm going to move on. When they ask you, "Hey Terry, we want you to do a nude scene
Yeah,
uh, with
I'm
Matthew
all.
McConaughey,"
Yeah,
what
I'm all in.
you were all in? No hesitation.
No, no, not at all. First of all, it goes back to the Joe Namath thing we started this interview off with about being something, you had to pull it back in because of the way you were raised. Well, I'm raised Baptist, and I got a chance. Tom Day, the director in Failure to Launch, said, "Will you get naked in the movie?" And I went, "Absolutely." And listen, Mike, you're not really naked, okay? You have to wear something over your certain
Yeah,
parts, okay?
yeah.
It's a funny story. I won't tell it here, but anyway, I said absolutely because I felt like, first of all, it's going to shock everybody, which I really wanted to do. And number two, I was never going to do another movie anyway. And what do I care? And I couldn't wait to get the reaction from my family. Well, I did the scene um, and showed my little white butt, and my mother was absolutely in shock. She went to church that morning, and the preacher said, "We got the school bus, church bus, and we're going to take everybody to see Terry's movie. All you old birds in her class." So she had about 20 something blue heads in there, and they had box lunch, and they're going to see the Failure to Launch. And I went, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, Mom, you can't go see that movie." Well, why not, baby? I said, "Because I get naked in that movie." What? No, you don't. You wouldn't do that. Oh, yeah, I get naked. You do not get naked. Uh-huh. I get naked, Mom. You don't want to go see that movie. So they canceled the movie. And about 3 weeks later, when it's showing in some city out in the middle of the country at 1:32 p.m., she went and saw the movie. She called me and said, "Oh, my God, I can't believe
I raised you better than that, son.
Oh, she said that. I can't believe you did that. Oh, yeah, you can.
Well, for those listeners, if you haven't seen Failure to Watch with Terry Bradshaw and Matthew McConaughey, go watch it because you will see the butt of a four-time Super Bowl champion. That is the butt of a champion. Terry, we like to end the show, unfortunately, on a serious note, but we like to keep some levity there with a few questions.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go rapid fire here and just give us
Got
the answer from your heart. The hardest decision you ever had to make.
Marrying Tammy.
Really?
Yeah. 3 failures. Do you really think you got it figured out?
No.
No. But
So
I did.
were you more concerned about her than you?
I was concerned about me, not
Yeah.
her.
Okay.
I didn't know if I could trust myself. Was this really what being in love is? The thing that got me through it, though, was I had gone through a lot of counseling, and I knew this was the right thing to do, but it was hard. I just couldn't deal with another failure. I didn't want to. I didn't want to have another heartache. I had a great woman, and I just had to trust myself and pray about it, and I did. But I got to tell you, Mike, it was. Now that I've been married for so, I wish why not do this? Back 20 years earlier. But yeah, that was a hard decision.
That's amazing. You say you had a fear of failure from a guy who's done so much, and from a guy who's like, screw it, I'm going deep. I guess that's human nature. Anyone who says they love failure is probably lying right through their teeth,
Wait,
even though we know that's part of the process to succeed.
Sure. Yeah, but failure, no, I don't. I think failure is. I'm 73 now, so failure doesn't scare me, and I actually know that if something doesn't work, it's for a good reason, and I'm going to get a lot from it. It.
Terry, how will you measure if you've lived a good life? That's a tough one, I know.
I care. The people I care about are the ones that I'm most concerned about approval. I'm not, Mike, I don't know you. So your opinion about me doesn't matter, seriously. But my opinion from my girls and my 2 or 3 really good friends does. But I got so many things in my life. I just finished a book called Hell. And as a struggling Christian up and down that spectrum, am I going to hell? Am I going to heaven? I had to call my preacher the other day. My wife and I, we got him on the phone because I was just so torn between my salvation and it was bothering me. So I guess my friends, my close friends and my family, I want them to know, I want them to appreciate and love and care. I think I got that. That's a terrible answer I just gave you.
No, Terry, from the outside looking in.
I gotta tell you, that's a tough question. It's not like, how do you want to, what's your legacy? I don't have a legacy. I mean, but that is a tough question. I just really never thought about that kind of question. So hats off to you, my friend, for throwing me a curveball.
Well, Terry, I'm still trying to find the answer to that. And it's probably going to take me about 3 more decades.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's I'm struggling for words to even get into an answer, because my answer didn't really answer your question. So.
No, it did. It did. Terry, it is powerful. People are so concerned about what other people think.
Yes.
And that's human nature. But at the end of the day, we've always said this: all that matters are the people that are going to be around your deathbed when it's your time.
True.
That's who matters.
That's true. Yeah, I've said that many a time that whenever I'm drawing my last breath, those that love me, they'll be there. I told Tammy, I said, I want to see your face and hold your hand. That's the last thing I want to see. And that'll be the ones. I don't think I'm gonna do roll call. Bill, here. Judy, you here? Nope, she's not here. Check her off.
Yeah.
So I don't think there'll be a roll
that
call.
Will. Hey, Terry, for those listening, and again, a lot of us are in a rut post-COVID. Some people feel like they're going nowhere. What are those 1 to 3 keys to success? Those rules you've lived your life by?
Well, first of all, I've listened. I picked a sport, and I put my whole life into playing football. That was 7 years old, Mike. That was it. That's what I shot for. Along that way, I was a world record holder in throwing the javelin, and I had my success was in track and field and not football. So I listened to myself. I listened and pursued with all the efforts I had into being a quarterback. That was it. I put everything into it, passing, play action, running, all of it was put into that. So that's what I'm going to listen. I listen to my heart. Okay. So if you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to be, number one, you're not going to be happy, and you're certainly not going to be successful. And if you are successful, you're not going to be happy because it's not really what you want to do anyway. So number one is, I knew what I wanted in life. Number two, I didn't shortchange it. I put in the work. Number three, I never gave up on it because I had the title and the deed to it. It's mine. And Mike, you or no one else is going to take it away from me. So it was listening. I knew what I wanted. I worked hard to get it. And then I didn't give up on it, even because, when you don't give up on something, that's because there's a lot of failure and you're tested. And I think God tests us because if we have very little success in something, we'll tend normally to give up on it and move in another direction, unless it's buried down in your being, your soul, your heart. This is what I want. And until I get that concrete answer that says, this ain't going to work, brother, then I change course, but not until then.
Powerful, powerful words. So, Terry, where can people find your bourbon, which I know you're passionate about? I've always said that my life is a combination of a lot of bourbon and bad choices. Where can people find it?
Oh man, they'll have to go on. I don't even know right now. That's DC is our distributor. We're all over Texas. We're everywhere in Texas. We're in 40. Let's see, we're in almost every state now. So they'll just have to go online and find out what's the closest liquor store. Hold it. Here comes my wife. Oh, Terry, here it is. You ready, Mike?
Yes.
TerryBradshawBrands.com.
TerryBradshawBrands.com. Okay, we will post that. My challenge to the listeners is go to your liquor store, find a bottle, post it on Instagram, tag Terry, tag me, tag Men's Journal. Let's support Terry. And then Terry, you said you have a new book coming out. Is that what's the timeline on that?
It's we just started. We've had one discussion on the outline. We've probably got another 8 to 10 discussions, and then we'll start writing it in a year. And I'm in no hurry. You know what, Mike? I'm in no hurry on this one. I want to get it. I want to really get it right, and I want it to be really good. And so therefore, I'm being real patient. I got the same writer I had for the last book, which was David Fisher,
yes,
which was really successful. So I'm happy about that. But I don't have a title for it. It's going to be it's going to be different than anything I've ever done. I've got 5 books out now. This will be really good. It'll probably, Mike, go along with the HBO special. It'll go along with Branson. It'll be a little more. I'm at the end of my career in television.
Yeah.
I still do so many exciting things. So I haven't decided yet just exactly where I want to go with this. We've started, but that's it. We've just started.
Well, Terry, I'll tell you, I can't wait to read it whenever it gets done. I know Men's Journal will cover it. Please let us know.
I will.
Hopefully we can catch my wife and I one of your performances down the road. Terry, I cannot thank you enough. We know you're a busy man.
Yeah, listen, let us know. We did New York. We went out and did our first casino, and finally we had a sellout. I was shocked. I was in Vegas for 3 years, and we never sold out in Vegas and had a 320 venue. We went up to New York and sold 2,400 tickets. I'm like, wow, a sellout. You got to be kidding me. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So we'll be, we're trotting around. You have my number. Stay in tuned, and we'll get together and go to Branson, bring you up to Branson. We'll have some fun up there. We'll get you up. Can you sing?
Oh, you are asking way too much of me, sir. That would push me outside both my mental and probably physical comfort zones.
Hey, well, we'll get up there. We'll do some singing. We'll have a good time, man. I look forward to it.
Hey, Terry, thank you so much, sir. Have a good one.
I've enjoyed this. Thank you.